If you're on replay, drop a replay below and let me know you're in. Ask any questions. So I'm just going to get the questions up as ever. I'm just going to get this up as well. Let me get my two screens up. And you can ask questions live, remember. Hey Claire, how are we doing? New Kickstart book got your new Kickstart book ready to go. Good evening. So I'm going to get the questions up. Interesting questions. So let's rock and roll and make a start. So let's okay. Right. So first one is about the accountability challenge, how it works. So the accountability challenge is something we do inside our Kickstarter group. So Rachel asked, I wondered how it worked. I did a short video this morning. So this is about showing up every day with a small task that we set you at the start. So it's a real simple one. You don't need technology as such from it. You can just download the picture, record the picture. We do have videos of each exercise if you're struggling for technique or want to know what it's called. You do this, whether that's my meals today will be, insert here. Here's the exercise. So you do like a little 1 minute workout, throw on top of that, you do your little task of the day, then you put in done, let me know what it is, let us know in the comments, and then we do a raffle. That's a virtual raffle ticket. It's not about being every day, it's not about doing it every day, being perfect. What it is about is being persistent, what you do on average. The more you show up, the more raffle tickets you get. But it doesn't matter whether you do 3 days in a row and lose your streak. Everyone is obsessed with streaks these days. Like, these are to blame, right? These watches. You've done a 5-day streak. Get on it again, and you're like, oh, I've lost my 7-day streak. There's no point walking today. It's about showing up after a bad day. That is the difference right there. Can't stress that one enough. So, good evening. Great, Claire. Glad you got it. Perfect. So, so that's how it works. And then at the end, we do a voucher each month that is always handy, right? Nice little prize. So let's rock and roll. First question, what's your thoughts on the keto diet? So keto diet, for those that don't know, is essentially where you eat about 75% of your diet from fat, 20% protein, 5% carbs. That's the strict version of it. What keto kind of means now really is like a lower carb diet. It can mean a lot of things to different people. When you ask different people what a keto diet is, generally it's no carbs, right? That's the kind of the thing. And it can be very tempting, especially this time of year, to go down that route. It can work for some. One thing I will say is that if you were to get people in a big room and say, right, put your hand up if you tried a low carb or keto diet, nearly everyone will put their hands up. If you then say, who's still doing a low carb or keto diet, a lot of people will then put their hands down. And this is where we need to get a bit critical with things and go, okay, does doing the keto diet just simply make it harder to stick to, less sustainable and more inconvenient, which means I don't do it as much or as consistent and I get annoyed, I set myself up for failure? You can do lower carb, but if you're like, I can never eat carb, and this is the difference between lower carb, which I recommend for a lot of people, as we increase protein, increase fiber, whole grains, lean meats, etc. Now, if we think about and I'll show this now. If we think about as simple as the meal maker, right? The meal maker, where we go through kind of hand-sized portion of protein, as many veggies as you can, fist-sized carb, thumb-sized fat. And by protein, I mean lean source of protein. Get the majority of your diet from that, and you'll be there or thereabouts. And it's the thing I love about it is it's very convenient to eat like that, right? Whereas if you're doing a strict keto, it can be like, oh, I'm eating out, what's on the menu? Oh, there's carrots in the salad. Like, you get to see it, there's carrots in the salad, there's sweet corn in the salad, there's sweet corn as a vegetable, can't even eat. And for me, is that really the way to live? Is that setting yourself up to fail? Do you need to do that? Probably not. And this is where it gets a little bit, I think have some rules. Be okay to be a bit more flexible within that. So you might go, I'll eat low carb most of the time because that allows me to eat more protein. Maybe I can get away with a bit more fat in my diet. But you know what? When I eat out, I'm okay with having some sweet corn, with having some potato, having a big salad, whatever. That sounds like odd, but when you go into keto, it can become massively inconvenient. So be okay with being flexible. Maybe it's like when you eat out, you eat a higher carb diet and then a lower fat diet, and that balances out your calories overall, because ultimately it's about your calories overall. So that's my thought. It can work. Just be wary of what you're going to do, how long you're going to do it for. Is it convenient? Do you have a plan in terms of transitioning out of it? And I think that's important to consider. Like, is this something you can see yourself doing forever? And it might be, maybe it is, but have that little flexibility in going that it's not the carbs that make us fat or whatever. It's actually the total calories. So what allows you to eat less or more throughout the day in a way that's sustainable and enjoyable? That's the question to ask. So that'll be my comment on that. And that does bring us to the second question, which was, let's get this up now, about sweeteners. Should I try and cut out sweeteners too? And this was the same, from the same person. And this is like a perfect storm for changing too much at once. Remember that changing habits is a really hard thing. Like, people struggle with changing one habit, let alone trying to do everything at once. It's almost like January comes around, we go keto, we cut carbs, no sweeteners, no coffee, we drink celery juice, smoothies, juice everything, no more artificial X, Y, and Z. We're going to cleanse. It's the new me. But is this actually just a perfect storm for failure? Are we just simply setting ourselves up for failure here? That's my question. That would be my worry here. Because if your goal is to lose fat, which will get you leaner, which will help you be healthier, because if you lose excess body fat, that is anti-inflammatory in itself. And you can do that. And if you're already having sweeteners, diet drinks in your diet anyway, or you want to use these to help give you that sweet tooth, of course, if you have loads of them, it's probably not recommended by loads. I mean, in the research, it's like, 14 cans of Diet Coke a day? I mean, that's quite a lot. Probably wouldn't have that many. But if I told you could make it easier and still get a lot of the all of the health benefits, and actually stick to it for longer, this is where it comes into let's look at one thing at a time. Because actually, let's say you did go keto, let's say you did enjoy it. Actually, sweetness can be a great way to help you do that as well. And sometimes people then miss out on a lot of things, and things are hard to stick to. Maybe you don't have your protein powder anymore, and all of a sudden you're quite hungrier than normal. And being hungry is tiring, exhausting. That can make you binge, and all of a sudden a protein shake with a tiny bit of sweetener on, would have solved that. That, like, for me, that's like a no-brainer. Just keep that in for the sake of, trying to be cleansing, or maybe you read something somewhere that says don't have sweeteners anymore, it interferes with your gut health and stuff. And it's like, one, there's very little to no evidence on that. And what does it mean? We don't even know what half the gut research means at the moment. And it's like extrapolated from a Petri dish to like, meaning if you have when actually in reality the doses are like, if you pour artificial sweeteners into a Petri dish, it has some impact here. Like, it's so weak. And overall, let's look at the bigger picture. What's doing more harm? Excess body fat or a little bit of sweetener? That's the question to ask. So should you give it up? Well, if you're feeling all right and you don't need it, fine, that's all good. Maybe you can have some unflavoured, if it's to do with your protein powder, which we spoke about before, which is another option. Unflavoured protein powder you can get, maybe add some cocoa powder, some cinnamon. That makes it natural. If that makes you feel better and that's enough for you, that's great. But I always consider, like, if you're worried about artificial sweeteners, you shouldn't even be in the same room as alcohol. Like, alcohol just has bags and bags of negative evidence. It's one of the leading contributors to many diseases now, cancers, you name it. Yet, I think we spend far too much attention on sweeteners when the risk is so small, if any. If I'm honest, it's still very up in the air. The research is quite poor. yeah, so we know that 14 tin cans of Diet Coke a day are fine, yet any alcohol seems to have a negative impact on our risk. So, and that's just an example, not saying don't have alcohol either, but I'm just saying quite a lot of the time our attention is spent so much on that. So I just be cautious of that. And again, it comes back down to, when we're looking at the New Year wave, ride the motivation. Probably just don't change everything at once. Think about the meal maker. Protein every meal, as many veggies as you can in there. Make that the bulk of your diet. Thumb-sized fat, get some fats in as well. Plan in some snacks around that. And this is where you have to personalize it more for you. Maybe plan in, lean meat with every meal, or fish, or some lean protein source of every meal. As many veggies, get some carbs in, fish-sized carb or so. Be rough around the edges, rice, pasta, whatever, potato. Be balanced with that, it's fine. Then allow yourself some snacks, some foods around that, whether that's up to 300 calories, whether that's up to 500 calories. Be honest with yourself here, and I think it's a good honest assessment to have. Allow yourself, maybe you start a bit pleasant, and you go, I'll give myself 500 calories from any foods I like throughout the day, whether that's extra fruit, whether that's yogurt, whether that's chocolate, whatever, as snacks throughout the day. And let's see if you're in a deficit over 2 weeks. Let's see what your weight does. Let's see how your results go. And if you feel like, I'm not really losing, but, you're quite satisfied, you're not hungry, then we can look at maybe tweaking the snack side of things. If you're like, I'm starving, well, number one, are you eating enough protein? Are you eating enough veggies in there? Because doing them two things, as hard as they are, will nullify the hunger more, which allows you to create a deficit, which allows you to get results, which at least makes it worth it, right? So that's how we can play around with it then. And I like to use the snack allowance up and down to play around with that as well. And that brings us on to the next question, actually, which is the question. Okay, let's have a look. Okay. Let's have a look. Yeah, so I think it's more portion size in particular foods. I need to be more disciplined on not putting another item on the plate or finishing off a half that's left over. Yeah, so key thing to remember this is with portion size, if you finish off leftovers, etc., or putting items on plates, one of the things I'd say on this is if you're going to have leftovers or put more on your plate, rather than think about taking away your portion size, I like to think of it as what can you add in? Can you add in more veggies? Can you add in more vegetables, salad, fiber? Can you add in more protein? Get into the habit of that. And like I said, rather than having celery juice or like a fad diet, cleanse, detox, whatever, which teaches you nothing at the end of it, you've lost weight, but what now? This allows you to gauge what keeps you full, what doesn't. And like I said, with the snack allowance, you can then go up and down with that through the day. So it's like if I have meals this big, how full do I feel? And then with my snack allowance in the day, maybe I lower that if I want to lose weight, increase it if I want to gain weight. Keep it simple then. So I hope that helps. Any questions on that? Any questions? Let's have a look. Okay. Any other questions? If you've got any questions, do let me know in the comments, or whether you're on replay, send them over. That's all good. Nutrition, training. Any questions from you, Claire, as well? If there are no questions.
As well.
Oh. Just repeating myself then. And you watch on replay, let me know as well. No more questions, then let me just refresh the page just in case. Have an awesome evening. And I hope that was helpful in terms of putting together a diet. On Thursday, remember, we'll be talking about how to achieve more in the next 100 days, how to put together a 100-day plan, what to do, what to don't do. We're going through the do's and don'ts of that as well. So have an awesome evening. All good, Claire? And I will see you later. Take care. See you later.